Should we use robots in war? Let's consider. Hello, philosophers. I'm Chico. Welcome to the Philosopher's Bookshelf, where we consider a book from a philosopher's perspective. If you're wondering why is this in a different format than usual, I was going to do this on YouTube Live. I thought that might be a fun little, mixing things up. It's Thanksgiving week, and I have the week off, and so I thought, I'm going to review a book, or a short story in this case. And I thought that would be fun to do live, and I do not meet the eligibility stuff. I don't know. I have over 1,000 subscribers, but I was trying to look and see, why do I not meet the eligibility requirements? And there was too much reading. I didn't really know. I have no idea why, what is the importance of going live or versus not. I just thought it would be a fun, different thing to do. But I guess we're not doing it. So I have the camera all set up to go this way, so we're going to do this instead. Okay? So, reviewing one of my favorite authors, Philip K. Dick. I love all of his work. He's got some weird ones, man. In fact, most of it's weird. The book, the short story that I'm talking about today is Second Variety. And this is an absolutely disgusting cover. I don't know why they made it so ugly, but this is just a collection of short stories. So it's not like the entire thing is this short story, obviously. But what I'll do is I highly suggest you read the story, and I'll even put a link in the description to a free copy of the story. The only problem is, in that free copy, there is an illustration that sort of gives a little bit away, little spoiler. So I highly suggest you just go out and buy the actual, an actual copy of it so that you don't get that spoiler. It's worth it because you're going to have to buy it in a collection, but it's worth getting a collection of his work because his work is just so amazing, it's just got so much good stuff. I'll give you a quick synopsis, quick rundown, if in case you haven't read it yet, and I'll do my best not to give any huge spoilers so that you can still enjoy it if you just aren't sure if you want to commit an hour of your time to read this short story. So here's the deal. It is like post-apocalyptic. The USSR, this book was written, or the short story was written in 1953. So that gives you sort of your bearings. It is, beginning of the Cold War era, and when this was written, and in the story, the USSR, Union of Soviet Socialist Republic, has attacked the United States and has decimated the U.S., and the United States has removed its government, a lot of its people, to a moon base, and has left behind only its army to defend the land from the USSR invasion. And the United States is getting overrun, so in order to fight back, they develop these robots called claws, which are these spherical kind of robots that are basically outfitted with claws to go attack the Russian soldiers. And the US soldiers have these bracelets that have some kind of radiation that they give off so that they won't get attacked, that the Russian soldiers don't have. And at first, these claws are slow and clumsy, and so that the Russian soldiers can easily pick them off. And so in order to be effective, the Americans have to develop underground factories where they have computer constantly updating the claws that they're, the designs of the claws. So they spit out a claw design, they learn from the drawbacks of that claw design and spit out an improvement, and then just constantly keep getting better and better to the point where the claws become very efficient at killing. Well, everything that's great, and they get to the point where their bases are defended very well. Unfortunately, however, in the story, we find out that they get so good that they develop android, like fake soldiers, so or fake people, I should say. So it's like if you've ever seen the movie Terminator, it's very much like Terminator. I wouldn't be shocked if Terminator was influenced by it. You'd be shocked at how many movies are influenced by Philip K. Dick. Like how many science fiction movies came off of Philip K. Dick. Minority Report, Total Recall, A Scanner Darkly. Man, there's just a lot. So these robots are made to look just like human beings, infiltrate into the human bunkers, and then kill everybody that are in there. And they develop the ability to get around the bracelets, so that now all of a sudden they can kill both Americans and Russians. That's sort of our story. That's where the story really picks up. So I haven't really told you the people that are in it. I haven't really told you, what's going on. You definitely should read the story. It is phenomenal. Anyway, it brings up some philosophically interesting questions. And the first one is, what about developing these kinds of military technologies? This sounds very much like what's called the technological singularity. The technological singularity is an idea that will eventually get to a point where technology will be advancing itself, right? It's going to be we'll have computers making computers, and computers improving computers, and improving computers to the point where there's eventually going to be a point where it's out of our control, right? Like they become so smart, they're making computers that are so smart that we can't control how they are developing any longer. And militarily speaking, this is also something that is, something that we need to concern ourselves with. What if we develop some kind of militarily, advancement, like something like this? What if we start developing robots that are getting better and better at killing machines? Are we eventually going to bring along, technological Armageddon? And is that something that we should risk? And so it's an interesting question. You may think, obviously, no, we should never risk that. But there are some possible reasons why we should, and they're given in the book. The first one is, or in the story, I should say, the first one is out of necessity. So for the Americans in the story, it was a necessity for them in order to be able to fight back in the first place. They were getting decimated, and the USSR was overrunning. And imagine, I'm not sure how you feel about whatever country, but pretend like you are a citizen of the best country in the world, the most innocent and the most morally good country there is. And imagine the worst country that you can think of comes to invade your country and is trying to wipe you out or enslave and, do just the worst things that you can think of. And there was no recourse for you. They took out your military, and there was no way that you were going to be able to fight back unless you develop this kind of technology that develops itself, right? Unless you could develop these underground factories and then go hide and wait for those factories to start spitting out these super robots that could kill off the enemy, and hope that these super robots don't turn around and kill you off, right? So out of necessity, would it be something that would be okay? Or do you think instead, like, you would just throw your hands up and say, yeah, just go ahead and take over? And I don't know, like, I'm not telling you what the right answer is here. I think this is like a really difficult question, like, should we have uh, a point where we should just give up, right? Is there a point where defending ourselves would lead to something so horrific that we should just lose? That sounds awful, right? But it's a possibility. I don't know. The second reason that in the story they give is because if we don't develop it first, they will. And that is a live option for us as well, right? There are other countries right now that are developing these kinds of technologies, that are developing technologies. If we don't develop it first, then they are going to develop it themselves. And then we're going to be looking, on the outside at these killer robots. So shouldn't we develop the killer robots to fight these killer robots? So, and if we do, then we run the risk of bringing on this technological Armageddon. So is it the case that we should develop these? The good guys should get it first? In the same way, think about, the H-bomb. We developed it first so that when the bad guys got it, we were ready. We were ready to say, hey, once you guys try to use it, we've got our own, so don't try to use it. I don't know. And then third, something that the story doesn't mention, but something I think that we should also keep in mind is possibly it would be a reason to develop this technology because it would keep our own soldiers safe. So this is something that I don't know. I don't really know what I think about this. This is like a moral question that I don't know. I'll throw it out there. So what if we could develop these killer robots and they could go into battle for us and just absolutely annihilate the opposite side, and none of our soldiers would die? Now, we would be keeping all of our soldiers safe, but we would absolutely, annihilate the opposite army. It would be very disproportionate, right, in the way that we use our power. And so that would seem like something in that seems wrong, like just to totally decimate. But at the same time, it seems wrong for us to allow even one of our soldiers to die if we could avoid it. So what should we do? Should we use robot soldiers, or should we avoid using robot soldiers and put our own soldiers into harm's way? I don't know. That's something that we have to answer coming up here pretty soon, because this technology will be available at some point. Do we use robot soldiers? I don't know. A further question that is up for debate is the artificial intelligence question. Have we developed conscious robots at this point? Do these robots gain self-awareness? So in the movie The Terminator, the whole idea of the Terminator is predicated on the fact that this computer gains self-awareness and then decides to attack its human overlords. And the question then would be, is that what's happening in this case? If we start to develop technology that can develop technology that gets smarter and smarter, will we be developing self-aware robots? Now, I'll recommend you check out my Philosophy of Mind playlist to sort of see some ideas on that. But I would have to say, in this case, it wouldn't really matter if they were self-aware or not. Because think about, there is no real difference between a self-aware robot and a robot that's programmed to act as if it were self-aware. They still have the same behaviors. And that's really what we're interested in, right? We're interested in, are they going to be killer robots or not? Are they going to act in a particular way? So whether they're self-aware is inconsequential. I do think, however, that it would be possible for these computers to shirk their programming even if they weren't self-aware. So if that's what you were thinking, like, but if they're not self-aware, then why would they decide to attack us? Computers will act the way that they do because they are programmed with some kind of goal, right? And then there is learning the computer learning is the ability for a computer to program itself, to change its programming, I should say, in updating its programming in order to accommodate new information, right? But if a goal is just a program, something that's programmed, then it seems like a goal can be changed as well eventually, right? Now, there are going to be some goals that are, fundamental programs that are ensconced into the computer, but I wouldn't say, I don't know. I mean, I think that it sounds like if you could change programming, you could change anything, right? So it sounds like there's at least it's at least possible for it to change its goal, but I might be wrong on that. Let me know if you're a computer scientist. I'd feel free to correct me, and I would be happy to find out that that's not possible at all. But let me know what you guys think, and let me know especially what you think about those moral questions, because those are significant, and they're questions that we're going to have to ask as a society. Like the technological questions are questions that computer scientists are going to answer, but the moral questions, those are ones that we have to ask and answer as a whole. So what do we think about those? Also, read that story, right? You got to read that story. It's phenomenal. And I'll try to figure out what's going on with the YouTube live thing too. Like that thing, I'm not sure why it didn't work. It should work. But yeah, have a great Thanksgiving break, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.